From the sky, the floodwaters are a confronting sight. Despite water receding about 5 metres overnight, Lismore is still submerged. While the city remains flooded, residents who evacuated to higher ground are confronting the damage and heartache caused by this record-breaking natural disaster.
It's just a part of us showing him how much we love you, mate.
Crystal Bock and her sister Amanda hadn't heard from their father Stuart since Sunday. They were fearing the worst.
Last night it's kind of sunk in. Something really bad may have happened.
There was a report of a man who went down the storm drains on Sunday afternoon, and it's definitely been a big part of a fear that's been coming up for us a lot.
Their dad Stuart loved Lismore, had lived there for decades and knew it was flood prone.
Especially Dad.
Yeah. Dad's always someone who bounces back on his feet, and he's always, coming back from a lot of things in his life.
He's just got a heart of gold. Everyone would say that about him.
Later today, their worst fears were realised. Stuart Bock was found dead. His body recovered from the floodwaters this afternoon.
If my dad doesn't come back, never.
A family man who was beloved by locals, his daughter believed he may have died trying to help a mate clear out his favourite pub.
Everyone who knew him absolutely loved him. A very unconditionally loving man.
On lower ground towards the CBD, residents have returned to what they have left.
A neighbour rang me up and said that the waters had receded in this particular street. So I came back to have a look and assess what I can save. And I was able to get into the house. It is a shock because everything's a mess. Everything's destroyed.
Schoolteacher Paul Gerard has lost everything. After hearing the news, his colleagues at the local high school came down to help.
It was a matter of getting in contact with my great mates, local people here, who I'm very grateful to in fact come and help me. And as I say, I'm just incredibly grateful to them. It's numbing and also upsetting, but I'm just trying to stay focused on the project of taking the first step, which will be many more steps to come.
The vestiges of people's homes line Lismore streets as far as you can see, and I've been speaking to people here. There's a sense of disbelief, really, that it's happening to them. They're the ones having to throw out everything they own. They tell me, though, it's part of the recovery process, but the practicalities of that are proving difficult. Across there, the main supply centre, that's still closed. There's still no fuel in the town, but this is the stark reality. There's still significant flooding here. Across the CBD there, you can still see that half the town is isolated. So there really is a sense that we're at square one of a recovery that will take a very long time.
Well, the timber was on the back of that row of plants just there. So this shed now has moved right over here and then come over onto our property. So the shed's moved with all the cabinet timbers into it.
Jeff Hanna has been an artist in Lismore for 50 years.
This $95,000 piece was made right here. It's an average house in an average suburb of Lismore. Jeffrey Hanna spent 2,000 hours over 16 months making the Yarralumla cabinet.
That's just a piece of stone there that gets inlaid into all the flats.
Renowned for his creative carpentry, his work has been featured on 7:30 over the years.
Jeff Hanna's masterpiece, the Hanna Cabinet, is coming home to where his love affair with fine furniture began.
Many of his greatest creations have been lost.
Some of the things like the Hanna cabinet, 6.5 years, and things like, of course, all the veneers you have to this, all the exotic stuff that you keep for years and you store, and well, of course, it's just all gone under. And so yeah, just got to see what we can retrieve, I suppose, mate, and dry it and see what happens,
His shed, containing all his materials, was shifted several metres by raging floodwaters.
The shed now is picked up and moved back over into our property. The whole slab and all, you know, it's a massive shed.
From the water?
From the water, yeah.
No stranger to floods, Jeff thought he'd done enough to protect what he had.
When you grow up, you hear people saying, oh, well, I remember my grandfather telling me that he heard that the water went over the cathedral hill, you know, and we thought, oh, well, that doesn't seem right, you know. Well, of course, it's happened again.
We know that the whole 2 levels of the gallery were flooded.
As CEO of the local art gallery, Ashley Ralph showcases many of Jeff's pieces. She's lived here for under a year, but as she drove around the city today, she was deeply affected by it.
It has my heart, and it's pretty devastating to see it like this.
Her gallery is in the centre of town and is still totally submerged.
Yeah, it's devastating and heartbreaking for so many people. Lismore is a resilient place because they've been through so much, but this is pretty soul-crushing, I think.
So it's getting worse.
In nearby Kyogle, Leslie Jarrett had to improvise to herd her sister's cattle away from the rising water.
My brother-in-law came up. He looked a little bit distressed and said, Leslie, can you get a kayak? And I said, okay, leave it with me.
My goodness, that's Leslie there, pushing these cattle across in the kayak.
And I only had a little child's kayak, and my brother-in-law was too big, and he has a sore back, so I just jumped on and off I went.
Look at this little legend, Leslie. Oh, beautiful.
For many residents, the damage caused will leave a permanent mark. They are determined to do what they can to recover.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 7:30's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.